Right, should we talk a little bit about coffee tables then? Well, hello again and welcome back to my channel, and time for a bit of a reflection, look back on episode 3 of Handmade, Britain's Best Woodworker, which was Coffee Tables Week. Now, apologies for this video coming out a little bit later than what I'd like. I've been a bit under the weather this week. My voice still isn't 100% yet, but I'm getting there, and I've also been a bit busy as well. Just before we start to talk a little bit about this, I was very kindly invited down to London last week by British Business Bank to become one of their startup loan ambassadors. When I formally became a business, I took out a startup loan, which is a government-backed scheme. If you follow me on social media, you'll know a little bit about this, but I know folk who are watching YouTube videos who don't have other forms of social media, and I've very kindly agreed to become one of their startup loan ambassadors, which is to talk a little bit about the scheme and the benefits of it through regional and maybe national media as well. They came a few weeks ago to film a promo video for me and my business, which I'm actually going to put on at the end of this video. So if you want to see a little bit more about it, I'll tag it on at the end and you can check that out and yeah, see what you think. Anyway, let's get back to Handmade. Yes, the design brief for episode 3 was to build a statement coffee table. So something that would really stand out and be the centerpiece of any lounge living area. And when I had my design ideas, I thought I could draw on some of my strengths, and I went with a butcher's block design. You know, I've done large butcher's block chopping boards before, and this is kind of a giant version of one of them with mitered edges, so it's got that complete design going right across the legs, across the top and down. From my personal perspective, watching it back on Sunday, I was expecting, and rightly so, not to get much coverage during the program, because although the actual design and build is a very intricate and difficult process, it's very repetitive and it would be very boring to watch. So the layperson watching it probably wouldn't be entertained by me just laminating and chopping different wood species. And there was lots of other things going on which were much more enjoyable, much more entertaining for viewers to watch than me doing this. Now I'm going to I'll zoom in on this a little bit, but what was really important for me going into the actual build, the 2-day build, was the planning and the preparation. Just simply to get a load of lengths of different species of wood and then try and cobble something and hoping you're going to get a good pattern to come out of it is a bit of a scattergun approach, and could work really well, could be truly awful. So I needed a plan, and it almost looks like, you know, my plans looks like something from the Matrix. Just I ended up shifting from letters for like walnut, maple and stuff to numbers, a numerical thing, and I had to follow that literally as close as I possibly could. My biggest concern was getting the build done in the time that we have, because this required a lot of cutting and gluing, and I was a little bit worried about the design process of would I be able to achieve what I wanted to in the time that we had. One thing that did work in my favour was the conditions. I talked about the conditions in episode 2 about the heat. It was actually even hotter during episode 3. It was roasting in there, and that kind of, as much as it was difficult to work in those conditions, it kind of worked in my favour a little bit. If you followed the channel for, you know, a short period of time or a long period of time, you'll see that I use Titebond glue in here, PVA glue most of, if not all of the time. Mainly Titebond 3 if I'm doing chopping boards and stuff because of its waterproof properties. But in the actual show there, we were using Titebond 2. Now, if you've used Titebond 2, you'll know the average curing times. What I will say is this: it was going off in 30 to 40 minutes. So if you didn't work quick, you were just facing a big problem. Now, I built this coffee table in 4 pieces. So the two legs were built individually. I decided to do the top in 2 pieces because the length of it, as you can see me sat on, it's quite a long table. I saw it as too much of a risk to laminate the whole of the top in one go. So I decided to do in 2 pieces and then dominoed it together in the middle. I have, as you know, I'm quite, if you are a member of the Woodworkers UK forum on Facebook, in and out of there, but being active on it recently, and you see comments, and I can totally understand where people are coming from, saying, you know, the contributors maybe should be using polyurethane glue, PU glue. I very, very rarely use this stuff. I've had this for ages. I think it's gone off now. There's a couple of reasons why I don't use PU glue. It's horrible for me. It's horrible stuff to use. I understand the quick setting times and the benefits of that, but I don't work at PU glue speeds. All right, if I'd have used that in this build, I probably would have only been able to got like 3 lengths to clamp together, and then another 3. So we've got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 24, 27. So it would have taken me ages to get 3, and then I would have had to glue them together. So although I understand the principle of PU glue being quicker because it's faster setting, it was actually better for me to use the Type Bond 2 because that was curing in no time anyway. If you've seen on the video, on the program itself, I had one of the technicians, again, I won't use names because I haven't asked permission to use names, but really helpful in helping me get it laminated in time because we were massively on the clock. In regards to the build itself, you know, I'm happy with, right, there's I'll come to the other builds in a minute, or some of the other ones I can comment on. But when I spoke last week, David hit the nail on the head when he said about these, they're built to a finish. They're not finished, you know, because you have to make compromises as you go along. And is it perfect? Absolutely not. You know, the table's not perfect at all. Am I happy with the table, all things considered, the build time, the conditions, etc.? Yes, I really am. Okay. Now, this has been in since the program, so it's been in storage. I actually had it in the back of the garage all covered up. And I was a bit gutted because I've only actually been able to get them out the last few weeks because I can, you know, well, this one last week because I've had it in here and I've had nobody in here to see it. And it took a little bit of water damage on one of the legs, which I was a bit gutted about. So it curved in a little bit, but it appears to have sorted itself out. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sat on it now. But also there's compromises in, I haven't done the underside yet. You can still see all glue squeeze and stuff. So it looks a bit scruffy underneath. But also when I got it all clamped up, laminated and got it where I wanted it to be, it was a case of trying to get it finished then. And I was using the belt sander, very powerful, that Makita belt sander. I felt like it was going to take charge at times to get it, to flatten it off. And then it got what I would describe as a cursory go with the random orbit sander before I had to get a finish on because I wanted the contrast of the wood species really to pop. Because what have we got on here? We've got beech, oak, maple, walnut and cherry. So, you know, 5 different wood species. I've got the beech running like a line down the middle to separate the 2 out. And the finish just got thrown on at the end, you know, and I'd love to have spent more time on that, but I just didn't have that time to do it. So when I got this out, actually, and this is going to be a shameless self-promotion, I sanded it all back yesterday because it looked, to be honest, it looked dirty. It, you know, it didn't. You could see it had potential there. So I got the sander on it yesterday, sanded it back, and I actually used, as I say, shameless self-promotion, some of my own wood finish, some of my own food safe wood finish, which is kind of like a waxed base one, and I just rubbed it in and it literally came to life. You know, I posted these pictures on Instagram yesterday and I was like, just rubbed it in, you leave it for a couple of minutes, buff off any excess, and wow, it hasn't half made a difference. I can't wait to do the underside so I get it all completed with it. So overall, I'm really happy with this. And the accessory to come with it was just literally 2 of the butcher's block pieces and a half lap joint in the middle, and obviously not using proper candles. And yeah, I think it complements it. I think it works well with each other. So it isn't perfect, you know, and I'm not sure what to do with it. That's, you know, because it's too big for our house. You know, we haven't got the room for this. It's not really something I would sell, because it's not that, you know, if I made this in here and it was in the condition it was in, it wouldn't be getting sold. So it leaves a question, what do you do with it? I suppose I could repurpose it. We'll see. But if you've got any ideas for me, by the way, you know, and that's not like for me to post it out to New Zealand or something, because you'd be happy to take it. But yeah, let me know in the comments section, and let me know what you think of it as well, what you think of the design. The program itself, looking back as a viewer, as a you know, a fan of the program, it was good. You know, it was interesting because you all get the same design brief and look at the different designs that are produced. So that's where I think really this episode, people's characters were starting to show a little bit more within the design spec, if that makes sense. No more so than Claire's, you know, a bacon, lettuce, tomato coffee table. What an inspired piece of genius that was. You know, when Claire told me about the design, I was a little bit, you know, I couldn't really visualize it. And then when I saw the finished piece at the end of the big build, I was thoroughly deserved the Woodworker of the Week. I thought the design was amazing. I think it should be in the Tate Gallery in Liverpool. I really do. I think it's you know, as pop art as Claire described it. It was Claire's character in a build, you know, and it was genius. Absolutely brilliant. Loved it. And as I said, you know, you can see people's within the episode, I think people's I'm not quite sure what the words are in terms of, yeah, say the characters, the wood inspirations. So where you saw it with Caroline's, it was very much the natural form. Greenwood to be working with, really gave herself a really difficult challenge to do that table. I don't know how I would have got it levelled off at the bottom, and all credit to her for coming up with workarounds for that. Nate's build, I know, was a deeply personal one and a tribute to his late father, and I loved the design of it and the way he kind of lifted up the outline of Barbados onto the top. I thought it was a really nice personal touch. I couldn't believe he was being so hard on himself about a domino showing on the end. I don't think I've made a piece of furniture that hasn't got a domino cut or a domino exposed at some point. But I suppose they're the kind of thresholds in your mind that you think, oh, am I going to get marked down for that? When really, it happens all the time. You know, it happens all the time in furniture making. And as we look across the other ones, Nathaniel was kind of very in the zone. I think like I was, just head down and get it, because, you know, although his table was a bit smaller, the laminations in it, he had probably 2 or 3 times more than what I did. So he was just literally cracking on with it, and it was a great finished piece. As he described it on his social media this week, I think it was probably his favourite, you know, up to now, because I think he's seen it as the most finished piece, if that makes sense. And it looked really looked fantastic, really looked smart on that. Wolfgang's was a really interesting one because, as I said and referenced in previous weeks, when you're on your big build, you're kind of in your own bubble, your own zone, you're getting on with things. And I didn't really know what had happened in regards to his design until the end, until I was talking to him about it. And his ash, you know, the curved edges which he was going for, which he was going to turn, he made the decision to change his mind because it wasn't going to work for him. And that was a bold decision to make. He still produced a lovely table. You know, those legs he turned and stuff that replaced the sides. It was a lovely piece, and I'm only surmising this because we weren't told that. What I think Wolfgang maybe been a little bit worried about was the judges being harsh on you if what you're turning in at the end is not what you had for your design. Okay, and I think that's maybe where he would have been he was a little bit worried, because although it was a beautiful table at the end, it wasn't what he said he was going to make. And do the judges, are they trying to be fair to everybody else because you might put something down, change your mind and do something completely different where everybody else has had to stick to their brief? I don't know, but he made that decision because he felt he had to, and you know, I think he did, because otherwise he would have been unable to produce what he wanted. Great table, just I think he was just a little bit worried from a judging perspective that they would have looked at that harshly, and I get that, I understand that. Jen's coffee table, which Bauhaus, you know, I don't really know a lot about that kind of design. The turning of the giant, I was not going to say sphere, cylinder, wow. You know, I was in the machine room when she brought it in, and I was like, oh, that's huge, you know, and that really was a focal point. Your eyes were really drawn to it. I hope she don't mind me posting this on now, but she's got a picture of it I think it's in a parent's house. Large coffee table, you need a big space for it. You know, really well engineered, designed and executed piece. So fantastic that, you know, for me, it's a celebration of woodworking in the sense that you had totally different approaches to the exact same design theme. And that's what makes it interesting, you know, that's what makes the program interesting, certainly is for me. David, to tackle a resin table in those conditions, in that time scale, wow, you know, wow. And the issues he had with the leaks and stuff, you know, I only in between spoke with him about it. You know, if I'd have had more time, I would have been the first person, you know, over to try and help in some way, you know. But he kept at it, and he kept going, and he found the solutions. The problem-solving brain, his problem-solving brain kicked in, and he got it done. You know, to be like, if you could say, you know, can you produce a river table for me in 2 days? I wouldn't have took that on, you know, and an absolute credit to him for doing it and getting it done. Was it done to the standard he was hoping to? You know, no, it wasn't. But again, would he be happy with it, considering all the circumstances, the conditions? So hot, you know, like, you know, the conditions were completely anti resin table making, and the time constraint as well, and he did it, you know, and full credit to him, because he kept right at it, you know, all the way through. And sadly, you know, it wasn't enough, and he, you know, and sadly David was the person who was sent home. Now, I posted this on my social medias this week, and I say this with all sincerity, I'll say it here. It's very rare that this happens, but you know, there are occasions in life where you meet someone and you kind of know in a very short space of time they're going to become your friend. And it was certainly like that with David. You know, kind of similar. We both brought up in Wigan. Liverpool's been my home for 30 years now. David, you know, moved away from Wigan as well. So we had a lot in common from our childhoods. He's such a genuine, warm, kind-hearted human being. There's no other way to describe it. Very, very funny. Okay. In the down times, he was just brilliant at lifting the spirits, keeping everybody up. You know, extremely long days. You know, and he was just there, and his spirits. He was always good spirit, or high spirited and stuff. And I was really, really sorry to see him go. You know, I thought what he'd done over the. You know, he was just such a lovely guy. Kept in touch with him. Even invited him down to the workshop, so he's been here a couple of times. You know, we've been out to a couple of timber yards and stuff. And we'll continue to keep in touch and we'll continue to be friends. Of that I've absolutely no doubt. Oh, I don't think I'm going to talk about the skills challenge though. Oh, that was hard. You know, that was dice, making, you know, so you had to make as many dice as possible. I didn't have a hand drill, by the way. I was given a combi drill driver. You know, they weren't that cruel. I'm trying to think out, you know, wouldn't that rest my chin on it or something? No. So I had a combi drill driver, but I started off trying to get, you know, like a couple done, and then I'm looking around seeing people doing loads, and then I changed tack, so I started to go for quantity over quality, and they were all abysmal. You know, they really were. When it got to the paint dot thing, I just couldn't keep my arm still. It was just a disaster for me. But huge congratulations to Caroline getting 6 of those done in that time. Jen, those 20 of, I think 20, but no dots of ink on them, and all got thrown in the bin. The filming of that bit seemed to go on forever. But, you know, again, absolute credit where it's due. To get 6 of those done, Caroline, was a brilliant achievement, and, you know, thoroughly deserved their immunity for that week. So I think I'm going to call it at that one, folks. So I hope you enjoyed the episode. The feedback I've been getting through my social medias and also reading on, you know, like the Woodworkers forums and stuff has been really positive. I think people are much more aware now of the environment the contributors have got to work in. Yes, we've got all this amazing machinery, got fantastic sponsors for the show, you know, Felder, Axminster, Festool, Makita, great gear, but it's a difficult environment to work in, because if you're not used to using that stuff, you're just used to your own setup here, then you know, you're learning as you're going along, and the time constraint is the biggest one. You know, you haven't got 6 days or 7 days to make something. You can get that beautiful finish, you know, that I would have been aspiring to on this. You've got to make compromises, and you're under pressure as well. One last thing before I go. At the start of the first episode, I thanked all the contributors and stuff, and then the technicians last week. There's 2 guys I'd really like to thank from this week, and you have a personal director so when I'm talking, you get asked questions, you're talking to the camera, and that's Paul, who's a great guy, loved working with him, and Mike, the sound recordist. I'll put you think the world of TV is all this glamour, and I'll put this picture up of Mike, the sound recordist, trying to get the boom at an accurate angle for me while sat in a wheelbarrow. So yeah, the world of TV. All right, so I just want to take the opportunity again to thank my website members, which I do some behind the scenes videos, go into a little bit more detailed stuff. Details of that on my website if you're interested. I'm going to put the British Business Bank promo video on at the end of this for you to have a little look at. A bit of feedback would be great. And as ever, everyone, take care, look after yourselves. I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. With the support of the Startup Loan, it's allowed me to take my hobby and develop it into a growing business that includes social media, my own website, physical products to sell, and my own product that I'm developing as well. Well, things changed dramatically for me in 2018 when I was involved in an horrific car crash that left me with life-changing injuries. Unfortunately, I suffered a significant breakdown in my mental health. It was during a counselling session when the counsellor said to me that maybe I should consider taking up a new skill or learning something new. And I came back with the idea of woodworking. So I started off just by making simple little things like candle holders and chopping boards. And that kind of grew really, and then I ended up making bigger items of furniture like tables and chairs. I decided to document it as well on YouTube because I thought it might help me supporting my mental health recovery, and also just to learn some new ideas as well. I was researching online looking for ideas how I could further fund the business, and I came across the Startup Loan Scheme. The loan that I took out was for £10,000, and that was to fund the specialist equipment that you can see in here. Obviously, only working with one hand, it's really important that I can adapt this equipment so it can be safely and effectively used. But the equipment has allowed me to make my actual working processes a lot more efficient. So fast forward to 2023 and the business is growing in kind of a multifaceted approach. I've managed to build my own workshop, the YouTube, I've now got over 10,000 subscribers, and I've branched out to making different items of furniture, which I'm starting to sell at local market stalls, craft fairs, and also on my own website too. In addition to the loan itself, I tapped into the mentoring program, which really helped me to come up with a business plan so I have a clear guidance moving forward over the next 2 to 3 years. I've had a really good experience with the startup loan scheme. It's a simple online process to follow and I'd certainly recommend it to any small aspiring business out there.